Whew. All right, we're live. Okay, hi Facebook, hi social media world. It's Michael here. I wanted to start a live video blog series, and I've been meaning to do this for, 6 months, a year, and I've been treading water and finding every excuse I can not to do it, which platform I should go on, etc., etc. Anyway, enough of the excuses. Welcome to my little vlog here. And why am I doing this? Well, there's just a lot of things that I've had on my mind that I've been wanting to share for a while now. And I don't know, maybe there's other people out there that think the same as me or similar than me or have really different views. I thought this would be a nice platform to share that. So I don't know how often I'm going to be updating this vlog. Could be daily, could be every other day, could be weekly. I don't know. I'm going to keep it pretty open-ended at this stage. But yeah, this is just something about stuff I wanted to get off my chest. I'm calling it Spare Thoughts, not very original, but I might change it down the line. Anyway, this is my first video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about stuff. But yeah, one of the things that I really wanted to capture today is just the world we live in today. And one of the things that actually amazes me is that we've just gotten a little bit colder, and I don't mean temperature-wise. I mean we're just not connecting with others. We are ignoring others. We got so much stuff in our lives today, so much on our plate. Our work lives are a lot more demanding now. We got a lot of things to take care of, a lot of responsibilities. But there's also a lot of things that distract us as well, aka Facebook, video games, films, Netflix. Whether you're like immersed in sport, whether you have other things that you like to do, but there's just a lot of stuff that distracts us. And there's just stuff that happens to really close people in our lives that we don't actually pay attention to. And I work in the disability sector, and I see this all the time. But I'm just seeing it everywhere now. I'm seeing in Sydney, for example, I'm seeing the increase in homeless people now. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what can I do about that? I don't do anything about it. I just walk by. I don't actually stop to think what is actually happening here. I just see the amount of people that switch off. And when I mean switch off, they just there are people who just want to isolate themselves in their own, in their own little world, themselves, their immediate, their immediate family. And look, I don't really blame them, because as I said, there's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, but it affects our community. And I guess one of the things that really made me want to start this blog is just this sense of community. What does community mean in this year? What does community mean in a modern day sense? What kind of community are we living in? Or are we even living in a community? Some people say we're living in more of a economy rather than a community. That's another argument. But it's I ask myself this all the time. How am I contributing to my community? Right? If I live a good life, but the person across the street from me is not living, a good life, then, well, or if I'm living a pretty comfortable life and everyone around me is in complete chaos, well, then I have to stop and ask, myself, well, what is it that I'm doing? Because there are times when I need help. There are times when all of us need help. And who do we have to rely on? So yeah, this growing sense of community is something that's always been important to me. And like, what can we do now? Especially living here, like I love it here. Like Sydney is a beautiful place. We have a lot of like infrastructure problems here. Our trains aren't actually very good. Our highways are jammed, and so you find that people just tend to stay in their own little like areas. I don't blame them. Like when I have to go when I have to go into into like the Penrith area, or I have to go into the like central business district downtown. It's like, God, how long? I always ask myself, how long is it gonna take me? So I see people like just sort of staying in their own little like areas, and so we're sort of, as a community, as a greater community here, we're kind of disjointed. And I don't have any answers. I guess I just want to get the discussion actually going. One thing that I was thinking of in terms of how I can more actually be a part of my community is, like, I don't even know who is my like representative on like my local council. I'm thinking that's something that I should be more like aware of. Who's actually like representing me? What are they doing? And what are their long-term plans? And how can I be actually like involved in that? So that's actually one way I can see myself, like fitting in. I'm also a big, proponent of going to workshops, or going like to meetups, or doing things that I wouldn't normally do. Like for example, I've been wanting to join like a meetup group for like a while. I've been wanting to start my own actually meetup group, and it's like, I think that's actually a really, really good way to meet up with people who like are like actually minded, or people who are just seeing or people who are just looking for something extra in like in like their lives. It all actually boils down to is that, like, what kind of world do you want, what kind of world do we like want to live in? How do I look after, like, how do I look after me by also looking after like the needs of others? It's that saying of how to be of like service to others. If you just focus on yourself, well, things may seem alright, but then you get caught up in the daily grind, and then you tend to start snapping at small things, or one thing actually goes out of like whack, and your whole world just crumbles. See, that's what happens when the actual focus is just on you. Whereas if you have a community, if you have people who have like your back, and if you feel you're a part of something greater, whatever it actually may actually be, that actually gives you power. We are social creatures, like, we're not isolated animals, like, we're actually pack animals, we're meant to be in actually groups. And I just think today we're sort of going actually beyond that, and we're discovering all these new things about like individuality and how to express express ourselves, and I'm a huge proponent of that. But how do we also keep the sense of community? Now, in counter argument to that, there's also this idea of like tradition, which I'll probably bring up in other vlogs as well. I'm not a big proponent, for example, of tradition just for the sake of tradition. I don't like things that exclude others. I don't like things that put people into groups and say our group is better than yours. I've tried to like avoid that in like my life. So when I talk about community, I am talking about more like inclusive communities. You do have to establish some kind of boundary in your community, but yeah, just this idea of tradition is something that always comes up with me, and I'll share some more personal experiences like down the road about how I think sometimes a tradition can be harmful, especially if the world is changing at such a fast rate as it is now. Anyway, I don't really know what much else to say in this short blog. I'm actually just on my way to work now, so I don't want to take up too much time here, and I don't want to be late. But look, if anyone is interested in this vlog, or if anyone has any comments or feedback they'd like to leave me, I would really appreciate that. Even though this is going on actually Facebook Live, I'm also going to be posting it to my YouTube channel, so there'll be more like a permanent record of it. As I said, if anyone has any ideas about stuff they would like me to talk about or elaborate on certain things, or hell, if you want to join me like on one of these actually chats, I really want to hold myself accountable to creating a like a better world. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical, I'm not saying that in an egotistical way. All of us create like a better actual world. It's just how we can do it. Everyone has something that they have to offer, and everyone has unique skills and like abilities, and it's all about like how we can actually use that to greater like our world. We're living in one of the most actually peaceful times on earth. I know sometimes it doesn't seem actually like that, especially if you watch like the news, but overall we're actually living in amazing times, and I think we're on the brink of a lot of like breakthroughs, we're on the verge of a breakthrough in how we use like energy. We're in a breakthrough of, for example, how we look at health and like how we look at health and well actually being. We're on a breakthrough of how old we can live to now. Lots of there's lots of things, plus also the like technology now, like the internet. How is the internet actually going to evolve over the next like while? Is it going to continue to be the open source community that it is, or is it just going to be closed off and commercialized and just essentially turn into what TV like and radio is now? The internet's a great way to start a community, but great way to start a community, not a great way to continue a community. You still have to be out there. You still have to do face-to-face interactions. You still have to do things as a community. The internet, Facebook, like our Snapchat, Twitter are great platforms, but what's that quote by Marshall McLuhan? The message is the medium. Okay. I still don't know what that quote actually means, but I think in this case the message has to be like actually more than the medium. It has to go outside of the social media world. It has to reflect in your daily practice, your daily actions. Anyway, I think I've spouted on long enough for today. I'm going to close this off. As I said, if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, if you think I blow, let me know too. I'm trying to like improve things all the time. Some topics that I want to talk about in the future are like masculinity in today's actual world, technology. Okay, the neighbors are drilling, so that's probably a sign that I'm gonna go. So I want to thank you for joining me. All right. I want you all to be good to yourselves, and I will see you later.